Hello friends, welcome back to lesson number 5. This is the fifth video and we are studying about inclusive growth. In the previous video, we saw about short-term strategies to achieve the inclusive growth. We'll continue the strategies to achieve inclusive growth in this video as well. But here we'll focus on long-term strategies. Okay, so previous video we saw short-term strategies which would be implemented or show results within 1 to 5 years. But as we know that there are several things which cannot be changed overnight or which need long period of time, many years, maybe 10 years, 15 years to show some change or to actually show results. So such strategies are called long term strategies, which is almost 5 to 20 years. So we'll study them here, what can be done in the long run. Now here the focus is on systemic reforms. Okay, so basically it is not on firefighting, for example, in the short term strategy we have some reforms like giving loans to the people so that they can immediately start some business, they can immediately get some earning. So there we are fighting with poverty directly. But here in long term strategy, we talk about systemic reforms, meaning bringing about structural changes in the system, okay, which are impeding the growth or which are hampering the growth. So bringing about structural changes in the system, okay. So these are known as systemic reforms, so that we change this system itself, so that it has become easier for people to do business or to earn money or to get employment, right? So this includes educational reforms, technological reforms, then cutting the bureaucratic red tape, then improving the regulations. So all these things come here, we'll discuss them. And large scale transformations, okay, so it is not just about small initiatives, it is large scale, looking from a macro point of view. For example, an entire state changing over a period of time, a state which was previously aspirational state or a backward state, now it is turning slowly into an industrial state or a developed state. So bringing about a large scale transformation at a very large level, at a state level or at a regional level, to create an inclusive and sustainable economic model. So our ultimate aim is to bring about inclusive development and to create a sustainable system, so that this system is able to sustain itself in the long run also. Now the first one is structural economic reforms in the long term strategies. The first one is structural economic reforms. Basically it means to diversify the economy. So to bring about structural changes in the economy, meaning to diversify the economy. Okay, diversify meaning, now for example, if the percentage of say agriculture is 15%, the percentage of manufacturing is say 25%, and the rest 60% is say services. So this is just an example. So this is primary sector, this is secondary sector, this is tertiary sector. This is the distribution of sectors contribution to GDP. Now we have to change this structure. For example, we are increasing this secondary sector to say from 25%, we are increasing it to 40%, okay, and this primary sector, it is now reducing to 10%, and this has also reduced to 55%. So something like that, or 50% for that matter. So something like that, the changes in economic structure is known as structural reforms, and we have to diversify our economy so that we are not dependent on one particular sector. So reducing over reliance on agriculture, strengthening the industries, services and emerging sectors like artificial intelligence, renewable energy and space technology. So bringing about new sectors also. So within these sectors also, for example, in service sectors which was previously 60%, banking is there, then IT is there, and BPO is there, logistics is there. There are various kind of, now introducing this new sectors into this service sector, because these are all considered to be part of service sector, like artificial intelligence, space technology. And nowadays it is not just about one individual sector. You cannot segregate any industry into purely into service or manufacturing. So now it has become integrated. So for example, anything, for example like space technology, it is both manufacturing as well as services, because you are providing some service also there, as well as the manufacturing of some components, some devices also. So we have to diversify economy and make it a modern one. That is one of the important reforms which will give people employment and which will increase the incomes of the people. Obviously we'll have to train people for that, so it includes everything, training of the people also, whenever you are diversifying the economy. Otherwise you will see a structural unemployment. Okay, so you will see a structural unemployment in the economy, because if the economic structure changes but the people don't have the sufficient skills, so there will be unemployment in the economy, and that is called structural unemployment. So it has to go hand in hand. Second one is to simplify labor laws. Okay, again it is part of bringing about a structural changes in the economy, so that people who are in the labor class, they are protected, they have the social security, and also at the same time there has to be a business friendly environment to attract investment, so that the industries are also not harassed and the workers also get their due securities and financial benefits. Urbanization and smart cities need to be promoted. So we have to develop a planned urban centers with robust infrastructure. So robust infrastructure is very necessary for sustainable development of the city. Otherwise, if the drains and roads are not sufficient, then we see that there is urban flooding and stampede like situations in many places, overcrowding, traffic jams. So those things should not happen. Affordable housing should also be there. We cannot afford to have slum areas, so there has to be housing for the poor as well as the middle class. Job opportunities need to be there, so that people earn a good amount of money when they are living in the cities. So all these come under the structural reforms. Then the second one is bringing about education and human capital development in the country. So how what can be done in the long run? So basically we have to promote universal higher education, meaning everybody should be able to access higher education. Higher education meaning the education which you do after class 12th. Okay, after class 12 or plus 2. So after class 12 or plus 2, whatever education you get, that is known as higher education. And we have to make higher education and vocational training more affordable and accessible. Today higher education is not affordable by everybody. So the poor people living in villages, rural areas, they cannot afford to go to colleges, to go to engineering colleges or medical college, or even in the subjects like arts, commerce, because they cannot afford to pay the fees, or to also the stay and the living costs also, like hostel cost, food cost, etc., book cost. So people drop out after class 12. So we have to make it affordable and accessible to the people. Then we have to focus on STEM and AI education. Now what is STEM? STEM is basically an acronym for science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Okay, so we have to focus on these areas, because these are the areas where you can show some kind of innovations, you can have technological development, and that is how your manufacturing and service sector also develop. AI is obviously a sunrise sector, whereby many innovations are happening recently. That there is almost a kind of competition between the developed countries, who is better in AI innovation. So that chat gpt is one of the examples, which is a kind of AI model by the USA, and now there is a DeepSeek, which is a AI model by the China. So there is a competition between these as to who is better. So we also need to jump in, and we also need to develop our own tools like this, our own AI models, our own AI platforms. So for that, AI education is very, very important. So we have to invest in future technologies to prepare India's workforce to global competitiveness. There is a global competitiveness when it comes to these areas. We have to focus on women education and workforce participation. Again, very, very important. 50% of our population, if they are not participating in the economic activity, if they are not getting educated, then we can never develop. So female labor force participation, female education, is very, very important. We have to give equal opportunities to our women also, and it can be done through targeted incentives and workplace reforms. Okay, now targeted incentives meaning, for example, we can give some incentives for women, for girl child, for their education, like giving them scholarships, okay, giving them hostel facilities, giving them a safe environment, giving them some monthly stipend, so that their families do not feel the burden of their education. Workplace reforms meaning making the workplaces like offices and even manufacturing factories, etc., suitable for women needs. Like there should be separate women toilet, there should be a daycare, baby care room, there should be crèche. So all these things, if we do these small reforms, so the women would not have to suffer, so that they can manage both their professional as well as personal lives. So these are some of the examples of that. Then the next one is sustainable development and green economy. So we have to focus our attention on achieving a sustainable development, meaning development which will carry on for a foreseeable future without disturbing or without exhausting or depleting the natural resources that are available to us. So the development has to be sustainable, meaning it has to ensure that there is a intergenerational equity. Okay, intergenerational equity. So intergenerational equity meaning the father who is enjoying today, the son should also be enjoying the same resources, in fact a better one, when he grows up. So that is sustainable development. So between generations there is equity. Okay, so it's not like the father is using all the groundwater and then there is no water left for the son. It should not happen like that. Green economy, because we have to also protect our environment while we are developing, because environmental protection is very, very important. Otherwise we see the harmful effects like climate change, okay, global warming, and already the effects of these we are seeing. Okay, so green economy is very, very important. So we have to do our investments in renewable energies. We have to scale up the solar, wind and hydro energy to reduce carbon dependency and create green jobs. Okay, so that pollution is reduced, and we don't have to face the problems like climate change, global warming, and the subsequent consequences of all those things. Water conservation is very, very important. There is a very recent report, and which is very, very alarming also, that in India, most of the districts, like almost 500 plus districts out of 700 districts in our country, are facing water scarcity. Some of them are even facing acute water shortage, and the situation is in the red zone already. So water conservation is very, very important, because we cannot imagine any economic activity without water, whether it is agriculture, whether it is industry, whether it is power generation, whether it is construction, whether it is you just say any economic activity or any activity of our life, we cannot imagine it without fresh water. Again, this water is the fresh water and not the ocean water. So we need to conserve our water resources. We need to conserve our groundwater. We need to conserve our rivers, our ponds, our lakes, and whatever water bodies we have. And we need to also develop climate resilience. Now, what is climate resilience? Climate resilience, as I have told you before, that we are facing climate change. Climate change meaning over a period of time we are seeing that the average temperature are rising. At the same time we are seeing erratic rainfalls. Okay, so the rainfalls which are occurring in non-rainy seasons, and also during the rainy season also this spell of rainfall is very erratic. Meaning, for example, in India, if the monsoon starts from June and it continues up to say September, so you see that the entire June month there will be no rainfall. In July, up to July 15, there will be no rainfall. But from 15 July to 20 July, there will be, so much of rainfall that, there are floods, and every city and, wherever it happens, it gets inundated. So this is erratic rainfall. So it doesn't happen over a period of time, so it is not spread homogeneously across period, across time, or it is not spread homogeneously across the geographical area also. And erratic meaning not just time wise but also geographic location. So there will be excessive rainfall in Kerala but there will be no rainfall in Maharashtra. There will be excessive rainfall in Bihar but there will be no rainfall in Odisha. So like that, this climate change we are actually seeing now. So we have to develop climate resilience, how our systems can be resilient to these changes, because we cannot control the climate change. We can only do some efforts to reduce it, but climate change is already starting to happen. So we need to develop a resilience meaning we need to have immunity to these changes. Even if these changes are happening, our systems should be resilient to it, should be immune to it. So we need to have large scale water conservation projects, drought resistant agriculture techniques. So as I told you that in some of the areas there is no rainfall at all, some of the areas there is a lot of rainfall. So both too much rainfall and very little rainfall or no rainfall are dangerous for the agriculture. So we need to have seeds, hybrid seeds or techniques which can be resistant to such climatic vicissitudes. Okay, so it is very very important. Then circular economy promotion. Circular economy meaning basically it works on the principle of 3 R's, which is reducing the waste, reusing the waste, recycling the waste. Okay, so it is known as circular economy. For example, you generate one thing, then the waste is generated out of it. Again, this waste is given into some other input to some other factory, and then again it comes back into the economic channel. So this is a circular economy. So we have to promote this so that we reduce the waste. Waste management is another very very big challenge in front of the entire globe, in front of the entire world, so we need to work upon the circular economy as well. And we have to promote eco-friendly industries so that the environment is not damaged. So whenever someone asks you what is circular economy is basically the concept in economics whereby the waste products of one industry or one economic activity acts as an inputs for the other economic activity and thereby getting channelized into the economic cycle again. So that is known as the circular economy. It works on the principle of reducing the waste, recycling the waste and reusing the waste material. So that is circular economy, again part of sustainable development. Then the next one is about your infrastructure and connectivity. We need to develop these in the long run, because I can tell you that connectivity is actually empowerment. Okay, if you connect people, if you give them roads, if you give them railways, if you give them logistics, the lives of the people will change. So we need to have high speed transport and logistics. We are lacking behind still from many of the developing and developed countries like China, Japan. We need to expand our railways, highways, port infrastructure to improve connectivity and reduce logistical cost. Very very important. So this is not just about this, but also about giving connectivity to the rural areas so that they get a good road from their villages to the main city or to the headquarter of the district or to the capital city, so that they can do their economic activities, they can come and go and there is no problem of transportation. So if they are doing some economic activity here, if they are producing something, if they want to market or sell it into big city or the capital city, there has to be good connectivity and good infrastructure available. So that is very very important. Rural electrification, electricity is again life, right? Digital penetration. Today in 21st century we cannot imagine our life without internet or without mobile phones, without digital penetration. So we have to ensure 100% electrification and internet access and empower rural communities, because it is empowerment, it gives a new life to the people. Affordable housing, smart villages. We have to give people housing because it is one of the basic needs. Develop rural areas with improved housing, sanitation and smart governance model. So again, something which can be achieved in the long run. Then the next one is about governance and institutional reforms. Okay, so we need to improve our governance models, we need to have good governance, we need to reduce the bureaucracy, and the mantra of maximum governance, minimum government should actually act. We need to bring about institutional reforms also, again kind of bringing about long-term changes. So we need to have decentralization, giving more power to the local governance like Panchayati Raj institutions, urban local bodies, so that we can empower them and they can make better decisions. More resources and autonomy can be given to them. Judicial and bureaucratic reforms are also needed. So we have to reduce the bureaucratic red tape, ensure swift legal resolutions and economic disputes, so that there is better environment to do business and to resolve the disputes. Political and electoral finance reforms is also one of the areas. So we need to strengthen the transparency in political funding and reduce corruption and enhance governance. So again, something that can be achieved in the long run, so that the democratic spirit is upheld. So these are some of the long-term strategies which can be used to achieve the inclusive growth in our country. And we are actually doing it over a period of time. We have done a lot of progress also towards these areas. However, a lot more can be done. And we can always have a combination of the short-term welfare measures along with the long-term structural reform. So whenever we are talking about short term, it is about welfare measures like firefighting, immediately giving some money in the hands of people to reduce their poverty, ensuring enrollment in schools, giving them healthcare access. These are the welfare measures. And in long term, we have to bring about the structural reforms. So these both are necessary. A combination of these are necessary to achieve inclusive growth in our country. And the government, private sector and civil society, they have to obviously work together to reduce the inequalities, because the ultimate aim of inclusive growth is to reduce the inequalities, to increase the opportunities, right, to increase the economic opportunities and to ensure sustainable progress. So these are some of the things that we have to keep in our mind. These are the important pointers while answer writing also when we are talking about inclusive growth: reducing inequalities, increasing the opportunities, sustainable progress. So all this comes under inclusive growth. So I hope that with this you understand what are the challenges in in inclusive growth, what are the various strategies that we can adopt. There are various examples of this. I am not quoting them because that you can cover from the current affairs. So there are various schemes that are getting launched. I do mention some of them in my lectures, which are important ones. But obviously the new schemes, whichever is coming in the year that you're writing the exam, you have to please look up into the current affairs as well. So this is just to give you a structure and to give you some writing points for your answer writing. So I hope you have understood about inclusive growth. We'll continue inclusive growth in the next video. Thank you.